Name me a country where you can do F&B and still get a 20x return. Not in Korea, not in Japan, not in America, but in Vietnam, it's possible. In the US, F&B is where you go to lose money. Like you create pizza or chicken, it disappears. But here's a country where I've seen F&B founders with 80,000 USD within 3 years turn into more than $20 million. It's crazy. Vietnam has the potential, 100 million people, with the GDP per capita rising very quickly to a level where it gets to $20,000 per person, right? If the GDP per capita gets to that level, this country is going to be unstoppable. Hi, my name is David Ee. I'm a general partner at the Ethos Fund. Ethos Fund is an early stage VC fund that's based out of the United States. Our thesis is to focus between Asia and the United States, in particular, Vietnam and USA. I got here first time in 2013, 2014. I traveled to Asia, every single country in Asia, with the exception of a few. Looking at all these countries, Vietnam was special. Vietnam was, to me, familiar, yet foreign. At the time, I thought, oh my gosh, the energy was just out of the world, even at that time. And I thought, one of these days, I'm gonna come here and do something. I know, like I knew. The GDP per capita in Vietnam, I believe, again, the last time I checked, it was between $3,000 to $4,000. That is very low compared to other countries. So here's the thing about China. China's GDP per capita is super low, but their GDP is high. That creates a problem, right? You have wealthy people, but a lot of poor people. That creates its own social problems. Vietnam has the potential, 100 million people, with the GDP per capita rising very quickly to a level where it gets to $20,000 per person, right? If the GDP per capita gets to that level, this country is going to be unstoppable. Seriously, think about it. It has more people than Japan and Korea did, and the GDP per capita catches up, then it's going to be a danger, quote unquote, to the economic competition against the rest of East Asia. And it's inevitable. I give it about 5 to 8 years. It's going to catch up. As a VC in Vietnam, people have a view that Vietnam isn't innovative. And that's very, very skewed view of Vietnam. What people who say that are saying, well, Silicon Valley is innovative. They come up with the latest technology. Vietnam doesn't. The VCs in Vietnam don't care about the latest tech. That's like comparing apples and oranges. Very, very different. Vietnam is innovative. You have a country, Vietnam is an ecosystem, and then there's ecosystem within another ecosystem. There's a global ecosystem, but Vietnam is also its own ecosystem. Name me a country where you can do F&B and still get a 20x return. Not in Korea, not in Japan, not in America, but in Vietnam, it's possible. In the US, F&B is where you go to lose money. Like you create pizza or chicken, it disappears. But here's a country where I've seen F&B founders with 80,000 USD within 3 years turn into more than $20 million. It's crazy. The startup cost is maybe the 5th of USA, but the growth is unheard of. But that's happening because you have a country where the average age is 32 years old. GDP per capita might not be where it needs to be, but the willingness to spend and learn is a lot higher than a country where the average age is 40, 50. Those people aren't going to spend, they're going to save their money. So in Vietnam, you have these young people who are energetic, willing to experiment with new food, new trends, and that's why F&B is winning. The average hamburger in Vietnam is about 250,000 dong. That's about 10 USD. That's not cheap, but people will eat it. Why? I want to try it. And that's why these F&B restaurants are even thriving. This is a country where it's not just tech. Non-tech can make multiple. This country was the fastest crypto adopting retail community in the world. Now it's second, but it was number 1 for multiple years. You know what that tells me? Crypto is edgy, right? Crypto is not normal, right? It's a high risk, but the consumers here are willing to adopt it. That tells me they have a knack for gambling, which is very risk embracing, which is essential for entrepreneurship, frankly. So you see crypto, you see AI, you see tech, you see non-tech, all of that happening in this country, and all of it is in the beginning emerging steps. This is a country of entrepreneurship. So I think Vietnam is a country where investors can make money in various sectors. Now, one of the investments we made was Tech Co-op. We invested, we're the first check in that company. It 20x'd in less than 2 years. That doesn't happen very easily. That happens in Vietnam. And on top of that, Vietnam's a very attractive place for foreigners. So you have all these foreigners coming in, willing to spend money here. Why? Vietnam is a very welcoming country. What other country in the world went to war with China, went to war with Japan, went to war with America, and now they're still good with all 4 countries? You're still at peace with everybody, and you're welcoming them? Because the last time I checked while I was in China, they still don't like the Japanese. There's a tension. I don't know, maybe there's tension behind closed doors, but what I've seen as a foreigner is there's no tension. And it's a country where they're willing to live and forget and forgive and move on. And I think that's why a lot of foreigners are willing to come here. And that is adding to the economy, right? People are spending money. Ethos was founded in 2022. We are a US fund, and the reason we're a US fund is because capital markets in the US is the biggest in the world, right? There's a distinct advantage also that Silicon Valley, before moving to Vietnam, I was there for a while, and it's undeniable that when it comes to financial tools and when it comes to investing strategies, Silicon Valley is ahead for most of the world. The reason for Vietnam, like I told you, the macro, micro, but the main reason also is this. VC as an industry has been around for a while now. Maybe some people haven't heard of it because it's not a common term, but it's been around here for a long time now. And I've realized something. When you do anything in life, nobody wants to do it because they want to be a fast follower. People want to do things because they want to be different. Everyone in Silicon Valley, like Sequoia, Kleiner Perkins, A16Z, these are some of the best VCs out of Silicon Valley. I didn't want to play in that pool. I wanted to be a founder of a VC firm that was going to have its own name and be even greater. I really, really believe in this. And so we thought we need to be the first and we need to be the best. We are pre-seed to seed stage fund. We sometimes don't see even a product. Sometimes it's no even revenue. The most important thing is, again, people, the founders or the people. So we go through this arduous process of really getting to know the founders. And that could involve having a meal with them, really digging in deep, understanding who is this person? Is this the kind of person that will continue or will they give up? Do they have a big dream? Are they really, really focused on executing something? Are they teachable? Do they learn? Are they stubborn? The right amount of stubborn. It's not just finding them, it's also having them come to you, and the right people come find each other. Our antennas, however, are looking for people who are third culture. Culture is beyond geography and skin color. Culture could be tech and fashion. That's two different cultures. Technology is a culture, fashion is a culture. Together, you have your own unique third culture. We look for founders who can create their own third culture. That is so important because innovation is in some ways about mixing different cultures together. I mean, as human beings, if you think about humans, our knowledge begins from a blank slate, but who codes that is our parents. And from there, we make connections to the next one, next one, next one, next one. So in essence, there's nothing new under the sun. There's nothing really new. What we're doing is we're creating new connections, and the more third culture you can be, the more innovative the connection. Creativity, grit, sales skills, all of this can be pulled out. And I believe this because I was in education. I've seen human potential go from like 0 to 1. How is different from founder to founder to founder, but the general kind of formula is something like this. Creativity happens when you blend, again, very different cultures. And as an investor, I have the privilege of having these private conversations with founders where when they don't see something, we have sessions where we're combining very different thoughts. And that's where I encourage their strengths to come out. So I say things like, but this is what you're good at and other people aren't, versus what are you not good at, but your team is good at. So what happens when we mix it all together? And then creativity starts happening, honestly. And that happens because you're willing to have the founder be both confident yet humble, both a leader and a servant. And you need to mix that. And it's possible, again, because you're in a unique position as an investor to have that kind of influence. But when you've invested your money and now you're investing your time, people listen to you. One of the games we play with our founders is what we call Go for Broke. And Go for Broke is a very simple exercise of sales, creativity, and just grit. And what we do is we gather the founders, we divide them into teams of 3 to 4 people. We take away anything valuable from them, and then we give them the following mission. In a set amount of time, anywhere between 4 to 6 hours, you all have to go and make as much money as possible. Go. Amazing things happen at that time. Because, most people think, oh my gosh, I need to make as much money as possible, but I have nothing to sell. What do I sell? And then you begin to realize making money and sales is not about product. And then it also forces creativity, right? Because now they're like desperate. I have to do this in the next 4 to 6 hours. And people think, oh, I'm just gonna beg for money. But they realize that doesn't get too far. And then they have to be creative with their environment, inner talent, and fuse it, third culture it together to figure out this mission. And at the end of it, some people come out broken but good. They become humble. They realize, oh, I really need to work on XYZ. But most people, over 75% of people who partake in this exercise, so out of 4 people, 3 out of the 4 always come out of it at another level. There was a founder and he was in Malaysia. What he did was he went off, found a jewelry shop and realized that jewelry shop salespeople, they are on commission. That means maybe they make a little bit of salary, but every time they sell a big jewelry, they get a percentage of that sales. So he went to the owner and said, hey, how much is that ring? How much is this ring? Okay, what if I sold that ring? How much commission could you give me? He sold like $100,000 ring in 6 hours. It taught him a lot of things, right? Because if you think about it, you might oversimplify this thinking, of course, but no, think about it. He probably had to learn a lot about the ring. He had to learn to scope the right buyer. He had to actually make a lot of mistakes along the way, right? He probably sold it to 30 plus people, maybe hundreds, before he found the right person who would buy it. And when they realize this, it helps them super boost themselves and their business. We work with the Korean government. We work with the Japanese government. We work with these governments. And the only reason we're able to work with these governments is because we have a picture that's abundant. Have an abundant mindset, not scarcity. Many VCs have a scarcity mindset. They think that it's competition. It's my firm versus that firm. I have to be the best VC firm. The only way to be the best VC firm is make better bets than everybody else. That's, I think, short-term play. You can do that all you want, but guess what? After that general partner dies, that firm's gone. You can't be the best. There aren't many VCs in Vietnam to the level where we don't know each other. We all know each other. So rather than competing like you, me, who's better, we should all work together to really help these early stage founders. It's not about just me. I don't exist alone. It's about community. It's about people. So to create a VC firm like that, we're giving money, zero equity, for the community. And as Vietnam grows, because the global market invests, we all grow. And as this becomes more abundant, I become more abundant. That's big picture thinking. That is what Silicon Valley has taught me. That is how all VCs should be functioning, but everyone's in the short-term game. And I think a big benefit of why I can think this way is because I'm an 8-time founder with 2 exits. I'm not in any rush. I'm not playing the 10-year game. I'm playing the 100-year game. And my belief is that we need to bring foreign and global investors in as early as possible. Because by the time we get to Series A or B, and we only have local and Singapore money, global players don't want to come in. Suddenly this company is now just a local company. However, if we bring in foreign investors from the pre-seed, seed stage, it's a global company, the DNA. Why? Because investors pull them to their market. So the way we see it is that we want to make it as friendly as possible in our accelerator program so that local players will come in together and we work together to attract the global players. And that's a very different strategy. It could only work in Vietnam, right? Or countries like Vietnam. I think Vietnam's growth is unique. You can't just measure growth by just numbers, right? Yeah, other countries can have that. But what's unique about Vietnam's growth is that it's happening during an era when, with China and Korea and Japan having had their growth miracle, Vietnam has a unique advantage. When all these other countries in Asia were doing it, it's kind of like watching something happen and people don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work. Japan's growth happened because Japan was the first to adopt US growth strategy. Korea's growth happened because after the Korean War, US presence, and they just kind of had to quickly follow Japan's marks. It was just unique. You're not going to see that happen again ever in another country. China happened because they're big. Again, how many other countries in the world are like China? Now look at Vietnam. The unique advantage Vietnam has is that it has case studies, but also its own innovative way of doing things. I'm going to equate it to K-pop. Vietnam can decide whether to do it the K-pop way or mix it with K-pop and US, Hollywood, or mix K-pop, Hollywood, and a little bit of C-pop and create its own V-pop way. That's not to say Vietnam is a follower. Here's the unique thing. Yeah, there are other economies that are here right now and Vietnam is emerging, but Vietnam isn't going to be the last country to emerge. There's so many countries that are going to emerge after Vietnam. And then Vietnam is going to set the pace and example for the rest of the world, I think. I think what China, Japan, and Korea did is they had to do it, but it's hard to say that they'll be the example for the rest of the world. I don't think so. But Vietnam, I think, can become a case study for other emerging economies all over the world. I think every country in the world, like in Africa and South America, has to understand that and grow from it. That's what makes Vietnam's rise different.